Hey guys, it's Katie, or as most of you know me, Scrappinkaty. And the creative design team is doing a collab on craft room tours. Well, my craft room is a little bit different from those that you might have already seen, like I alluded to in the title. My craft room is just a mismatch of things that I love, things that I've inherited from grandparents, parents, friends, family, and then things that just work for me. So as I go through my craft room, I hope that you are inspired. I hope that you realize that just make your craft space your own. Make it where you love to be in it and it just brings you joy, much like mine does. As we walk through this, I will explain some of those things to you and some of the things that bring me the most joy. Now, I will warn you that half of this video was done quite a while ago, and the other half was done more recently. So if some of the pans or some of the screenshots don't really match up, that is why. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I hope that you are inspired. If you have any questions, make sure you leave those below, as well as stick around to the end where you will have a link to the playlist so you can watch all the other craft room tours from the creative design team.
Okay, so I am standing in our living room looking into my craft room. So right off the bat, you can see a lot is going on, and also you can see that our house is pretty old based on the colorful windows. That is definitely one thing that I have wanted to change since day one. So when we first purchased the house, as soon as my husband and I saw this room, we knew that it would be perfect for my scrapbook room. They were using it as a den, and it is an add-on. So there are a lot of quirky things about this room that really I don't think can be changed. First off is, since it's an add-on, there's no attic space. So in order to make it brighter in here, I had to add fluorescent lighting. And then of course you can't really hide the wires and everything. So those are exposed up on the ceiling. I think I can live with that. I love the brightness of the fluorescent lights. Definitely will get rid of that foam ceiling up there. And then the other thing is that it originally had a huge 15-foot sliding glass doors that led out onto their patio before they added on. And so we did have those sliding glass doors, and it was wonderful, but our oldest boys decided to play football in the house, and the doors sadly didn't make it. So I had my husband remove those, and so now it's just wide open to our living room and our kitchen, which is kind of a catch-22. I'll explain that here in just a second. So let's get started with the tour. Okay, so I have this table, and it's kind of a nice entryway kind of signage to, hey, you're entering my craft room. I always have my typewriter out. I prefer to type my journaling, although I do know the importance of handwriting some of it, so my kids will have it later on, so I actually do that as well. And then I have the sign. We are about to release a new Craft with Heart subscription, as well as other letters that I can change out what that says, and then some old catalogs. So under this table, I have a couple of boxes, and anytime we take a trip or anything, I like to store all the photos. I go ahead and put the paper packet I want to use, any embellishments and memorabilia, in these boxes, and then that way it's really easy when I go to a crop or a retreat. I can just grab that box and take it with me. And then of course my daughter has some scrapbooking stuff as well as some of her schoolwork, and she houses it down here, and then she uses this table to work on. And then I have my Cricut Easy Press I got for Christmas, but of course it's still in the box. And then over here under the table, I have some iris containers that I have some of the workshop layouts that we do locally or that I sell the kits for, and these currently do not have photos on them. They're also kind of boxed up in themes. So this one is like Christmas, Thanksgiving, holidays, and then I've got maybe flowers, masculine, whatever. And so when I have photos that would match these, I pull those photos out to put those on the layouts. So then behind there is this built-in that it actually came with the house, and I love it. I wish it were white, but my husband and I have painted cabinets on some of our rentals, and it's so hard to get the doors and the drawers to shut again. And if you take the cabinet doors off to paint them, then it's really hard to get them lined back up. So I have not yet even really wanted to paint them, and so brown's really going to have to do, but it's okay. And then these cabinets just kind of house a little bit of everything. As you can see, I have some old, close to my heart, how-to books, all the boxes for our current electronics. Sorry about that squeaky door. Right here, I love school supplies. So when it comes August and September, I stock up on composition notebooks. This drawer also has buckets, little jars, entertainment or party things, anything I can cover with paper. Same thing with this one over here. It's just full of, some of it's close to my heart, some of it's not. It's just stuff that I can use for little gifts or to cover with paper and photos. So up on the cabinet is, on this end is where I keep the majority of my Cricut stuff. So I have my Cricut cartridges. Now these aren't really needed that much anymore since the invention of Design Space, but I still like to keep them. And then I also have my Cricut out because, like I said, if you have it boxed up, you're just not going to use it. And I don't see the point in owning something if you're not going to use it. So it's always out. If I want to use it, I just pull it forward, and then that way my mat can slide all the way back there. Behind there is some of my vinyl. I've got a basket full of old punches. I really don't use punches that much anymore, but I just kind of like to have them there, you know, kind of remind me where we've come from only punches to now you literally can cut anything your little heart desires on a Cricut. And then there's a large drawer under the Cricut that houses all my mats, my markers, leather that I can make earrings out of, stencil paper, and it's a pretty large drawer. So I also have our paper mats under here, big sheets of chipboard. Under that drawer is where I keep the majority of our photos. And so, as you can see, some of them I have in these, which is what I really want to do long term. But otherwise, they're in these containers. Some I just have in still the photo sleeves in bags. I do not scrapbook chronologically. I scrapbook like each child has an album. So if it is photos of just that child or maybe an event that just that child did, then it goes in their album, and then we have a family album, and then anytime we go on a trip, we usually have a trip album. So these are also organized like that. So if I was going to do a layout of Duriel, then I would pull his big thing of photos and then just pull out the photos that I wanted to use. Also, the good thing about that is once I use all the photos in here, then that one's empty, and then I can replace it with updated photos. But my goal is to eventually get all these things in these as well. So then we just have some more drawers. Some are for me, like photo paper and extra cutters, paper bags, and then some are for the family, CDs, laptops, stuff like that. I've got these drawers that have clips, notepads, really anything you probably need you can find in my craft room. I've got cards that I need to organize. I usually keep those in bins, depending on what kind of card they are. Thank you, birthday, anniversary, so on and so forth. That's a puzzle that we did that I framed. I've got a couple of printers. I like to use this one to print my photos. I scrapbook a lot late at night, and so the last thing I want to do is run to Walgreens or something to get a photo, so I print a lot of photos at home. And then we've got a printer that's just for everyday printing. And then I've just got a bulletin board with some sayings that I love, some quotes. That one is one of my favorites. And then, you know, it just has some other stuff that I probably should eventually put in scrapbooks, but I just haven't yet. And then we've got this upright, this big one. And so up here is just a lot of pencils, erasers, pens. I love that my kids, whenever they need these things, they know exactly where to come and get those. An old bind it machine, fuse tool, a lot of handmade albums, smaller albums. I've even got scrapbooks back there. That is one of the things in our remodel that I want to do, is have a universal space to display all our scrapbooks. And so I can get them out of here. And then the bottom is the storage, the paper storage that my husband kind of built for me. So if you imagine it, this used to be just all open. It did have this real solid middle shelf, but he took plywood, and it's the smooth finish. He took plywood and then 2x4s and then created me these kind of sections. And these are all retired colors of cardstock as well as retired paper packets. And then I keep those so when I pull out those old workshop layouts, I can add additional pages or photo mats using those retired colors. And then so behind that is my table. So this table, it's a big, huge island. It probably measures, I don't know, 7 by 8 maybe. My husband built it for me several years ago off a tutorial that I saw on Pinterest. And so these are bookshelves. And so there's 2 on this side and then 2 on this side. And then these are just solid wood doors without the doorknobs cut out. And so when he built this for me, I was pregnant with our daughter, and so I just wanted to sew everything. And so this was intended to be my sewing side, and then that over there was going to be my scrapbook side. And so it still kind of is a sewing side. You saw underneath, I still have a whole bunch of sewing stuff. I still have this cutting mat that I use to cut fabric. But more so, it's really for me to house. I have layouts that as soon as I finish them, I come stack them over here. And then after I've accumulated a bunch, I'll pull out their albums and then put those in the albums. I also currently am working on our Oklahoma trip. And so I have this album right here. And as soon as I finish a layout, I put it in there. I have memorabilia for the last couple of years that I haven't put in the boxes yet. So that's there. I have old cards. I have old ink pads. And I love keeping these because my daughter can use them and she doesn't have to use my other ones. And then as well as when I do work with an older paper packet or cardstock, then I can pull these retired colors and use my stamps for those. And then I've got some thread. And then I always keep my sewing machine out. If you're a follower of mine, you know that I like to stitch on my layouts a lot. So it's always right here. So all I have to do is take the cover off, plug it in, and then move it over there and then sew on those layouts. So against this wall with the colorful windows, again, this wall is also slanted. So not only are the windows ugly, but it also poses a problem when it rains. We kind of have some leakage. Luckily, nothing's ever gotten ruined. But this is where I keep a lot of my embellishments. You can see all my clear bins. I love to see everything when I'm working with it. This is an old drawer, and I think it was a sewing cabinet. It's not really a cabinet because nothing fits in it, but it has a whole bunch of old thread from my grandmother, and I just love that. I usually don't use the colors that are in here, although I might start because look at all those pinks. And then against some other storage. I've got chipboard down here, shapes and letters. Also, I've been known to make necklaces, so there's some beads, some adhesive, some extra ribbon. And then here is, my back is to those colorful windows, and so I'm looking out into our living room. And so you can see that big opening that's created. And it's kind of a catch-22. I love it being open because I can still, if my husband's watching TV or the kids are in the living room, I can still be at my scrapbook table, but still be talking to them and feel a part of the conversation. I also, if I'm on my crafting side, I can also see directly into our kitchen. And so when the kids try to sneak in there and get their 100th bowl of cereal, I'm able to see that as well. I've got a little selfie printer that I print photos on. I've got my first ever sticky boy that I found, and he's a big one. I framed him. And then over here is a gas fireplace. We have not used it. Gas fireplaces actually kind of make me nervous. And so we kind of use it just for memorabilia. So I've got a bunch of aprons from Close to My Heart, as well as some signs from when I taught at some extravaganzas. We really don't do signs anymore. And then I've got some memorabilia, like my husband, this was his little Winnie the Pooh lamp when he was little, and so it sings a song. And then I've got some Crocs that my paternal grandmother painted. She loved crafts, and so when I would go stay with her for the summers, she would always have a craft for us to do. So I love having these hand-painted pieces, just kind of remind me of her. I've got some old mason jars that were her. She also loved taking Pringle cans, I don't know if you can see that, and creating little scenes. When I was younger, I collected pencils and stickers. And so every time my friends or my family would go somewhere, they would always know to bring me back a pencil. And so we've got old pencils in here. In fact, this little troll one is back when trolls were popular, before trolls were popular. And then I've got some of my daddy's stuff. That was his flag, his dog tags, a bag of spurs, stuff like that. I eventually want to do like a shadow box and have it displayed. And then some photos of us before the little girl was born. And then this is also something that my grandmother painted. I can't remember if these are called cheese boxes or butter boxes. But so she hand painted that. And then we've got more photos in there. And then if you watch my videos, you've probably seen this wall of windows behind me. And so this leads out to our backyard. And then I just have a lot of stuff that's really special to me in each one of these cubbies. So that's probably one of the first photos. I know y'all aren't going to be able to see this. First photos of my husband and I. And then I've got corks. I've got a jar of buttons. My granddaddy was a Baptist preacher, and so this is full of a lot of his sermon notes that are handwritten. So I love looking through that and seeing his handwriting. My grandmother loved calligraphy, so I have a bunch of her pens and inks, and so even though they don't work anymore, I love having those. We've got some other stuff, you know, some stuff that the kids have made me over the years. It's just nice to look back on. So this is the area in front of those windows, and this is the area behind and to the side of where I sit. So I'm going to walk you through some of the organizational things that I do and kind of talk you through why I do them. So I have these organizational bins from Close to My Heart. They are currently back ordered, but once they come in, if you do not have these, I absolutely love these. And you can see that I have labeled them. So here is the current specials, and then I usually have the current catalog and then the core catalog. And then over here is where I keep the stamp sets from the current catalog as well as the core. Now, I briefly touched on my stamp storage system in a previous video, so I'll link that down below if you're curious how I kind of move these around when it's time. And then down there underneath this table I have past specials, or yeah, I think those are all past specials. And the reason I labeled them is after I'm finished with them here, they kind of go behind me lower, and then they go over on those built-ins that I showed you at the beginning of my video. And then I also leave, you can see here, my labels have these little 2-part pull-aways for the adhesive. And so I only peel off one. So they're lengthwise. I only pull off one, so when I actually use up, let's say Life's a Hoot, then I can just remove this from this bin and I can reuse that bin for something else. And then behind here, of course, going all the way down to the bottom, are just past catalogs. I like to keep them handy. Number one, I usually start a layout or two and I want to finish them. And then also I just have a lot of customers that are still working on them. So it's really easy for me to find in case they need extra pattern paper or maybe a workshop guide or even photos of my layouts. And I may not have those readily available online. And then of course I have well, about to be current to you guys. So this is the brand new stuff and I've already put it in here. I've already unboxed it, and then I'll actually go through this box on my Facebook page with my customers and VIPs. And then behind here, of course, I have my cutters, and then I have stamp sets that are not current or core, but ones that I use a lot. So you can see I have that labeled with alphas and then recent stamp. So these may be the last 2 catalogs in here. And then this one is adhesive. I don't have it labeled, but it's one of our small ones and I just have all kinds of adhesive. Now I will show you where I kind of keep 3D foam tape, glue dots, stuff like that. So this is kind of backup adhesive. And then you can see this was the last core catalog and then it just kind of goes down to other ones. And then over here is just kind of a stack. I need to add journaling to those layouts. And then in here, this is just from Target or somewhere. This is just kind of doodads. Of course, my wax paper that I use when I'm applying stickers. Oh, wax paper is way back there. This is not neat at all. And then my, what's that called? Press and seal that I use when I am putting like die cuts and stuff like that on. It's really easy to just do that press and seal. I've done several videos on that. And then here is all of those organizational things that you see in my videos that have the alphabets, the wooden shapes, the acrylic shapes, all of those. And then this is just kind of memorabilia, paperwork, stuff like that, notes. And then over here is the photo place card holders. I love those. I love to use those in my layouts, my workshop layouts, to kind of show you where placement goes. But then also I like to use these as mats to my photos on my layouts. So you can see here, that mat is actually a photo placeholder, a 4x4. And then I trim my photos down to 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. I just love the white matte look. And then over there is just a bunch of card blanks. So let me turn you around here. And so this may look familiar to you guys. This is where I stand. And of course, I have this big, sometimes in some of my videos, you'll see this backdrop, and then others you will see my glass board. And then just kind of everything at my fingertips, because that's just the way I create. I don't want to get up and go and get it. That's also why a lot of stuff is not in a place per se, is because I just like having everything all around me. So you'll see my tray blend markers. These are just trays for die cuts and such. You'll see my little swivel right here. These turn my lights on and off, which, by the way, my lights are on right now, but when I did my tour earlier, they were not there because they were in the way, and so I took them down. And then my pens that I use, my journaling pens, as well as my pencils, I always have to have lotion. Don't ask me why I have change right here, but I do. And then my glue dots, and then just a bunch of paperwork, and then readily accessible white daisy cardstock, craft, and French vanilla. And then my watercolor cardstock, as well as all my glitter cardstock. And then over here is kind of specialty cardstock. So some more glitter cardstock, as well as foil paper or paper, stuff like that. And then you can see shimmer trim. I love these colors, makes me happy. And then just kind of my mixed media, some foam dots readily available, my stamp spray, my liquid adhesive, all the stuff for my shakers, sequins, gems. I used to put like any dimensional elements or embellishments that I was working with. I used to use these, which is part of Close to My Heart's Workspace Wonder, which you've seen on several of the videos so far. So these are, you know, specific right there, but these are kind of just general. And so if I'm looking for a thin cut, I'll pull that out. This has just a bunch of summer related stuff because I scrapbook a lot of summer. Some more gems, all of my rulers, my lint brush, florals if I ever stage my photos, all my inks, my stickles, my sprays, my shimmer pens. This, guys, you see me reach over a lot. This is where I keep foam tape. Now these rolls, you know, are about to run out. It's where I keep my anti-static pouch. Just tools that I use on the regular, just go right here. My ATG gun. And then this is where I store all my blocks. It's really easy to have them there, really easy to access. And then if I'm leaving for a crop or a retreat, I have a little bag that they go in. Here is my mic. Now this is a new addition to my videos, probably in the last 4 or 5 months. I didn't really have an issue recording on my laptop, but I just found that this is a little more noise cancellation than my laptop was. And then under my desk is basically some more things. Readily available is this bin full of sequins and dots, embellishments. Again, everything is labeled, so it's really easy as I'm looking down on them to see what they are. And then I have my Misty, my scoreboard, I have my Versa mats, and then just some scrap white cardstock, and then other colors of cardstock in case I just need scraps. It's really easy to just pull from there. And then my drink holder and my trash, and then this little tray that just kind of holds a little bit of everything. And then we are back to my table. This is an old dresser that I also painted. It's got some how-to books back there and up here. The drawers, this is usually from Target Dollar Spot, things that I can use for teacher gifts or anything like that. I love to buy monogrammed stuff, and then I can change the monogram out. I've also got tons of chipboard. So any chipboard that Close to My Heart has ever sold, I've got in here, as well as big chipboard pieces that I can cut with my Cricut. Got a basket of baskets. There's our back door. And then here is the other side to that table. So here are a couple of orders I got to deliver. Any current color of cardstocks, they're all here so I can grab them easily. And then I've also got more stamp sets, shimmer trim, blocks, anything like that fit perfectly in these bookshelves. So that's pretty much the tour of my craft room and where I create.
If you hung around this long, thank you so much for watching. I will leave links down below to my stamp organization as well as any of the organizational tools that are available. And then also don't forget to watch the rest of the Creative Design Team craft room tours by clicking on that playlist above. Thanks and have a wonderful weekend.